All of these titles can be created in literally minutes in the free version of DaVinci Resolve, and they're actually way easier than you might expect. You can even throw them in a power bin to use them again later. Let's jump into DaVinci Resolve and I'll show you how. And we're going to start off with this one, this damaged style title, because it's actually super easy. So here we are on the edit page. The first thing we're going to need is to grab a title. So open up the effects library, top left, then come to titles, and you want to grab the text plus. Give that a click, drag it down onto your timeline, then give it a click on your timeline, open up the inspector, top right hand corner, and then just customize the text as required. Quick note, all of the fonts that I use in this very video are also available completely for free from Google Fonts. I've linked them down below and I've put their names and whatever else, so you can go and download them and install them and start using them and do whatever you want with them. I'm going to use a font called Anton for this one, and I'm maybe just going to change the size and tweak the tracking a little bit. We're going to leave this one white for a very specific reason. Now what we want to do next is to apply an effect which will give us our damaged look. So within the effects library, go to Resolve FX, and you need to scroll down, or you can simply click on your little magnifying glass in the top right hand corner, and you want to search for film damage. So if we grab our film damage and drop that on here, we immediately get quite a nice looking little text. It's got a little bit of blurriness to it, and it's changed the temperature to make it look a little bit more aged. In the inspector, make sure we're on effects and open effects. We've got film blur, so we can just blur this a little bit and make it a bit softer. We've got temperature shift, so we can make this look a little bit yellowy. And then we've also got a tint shift, so we can change this to be greenish if you go to the left, and then purple or magenta over on the right. Underneath there, we've got vignette. I'm just going to crank the focal factor and the geometry factor right up to the very right. And then we can just tweak the tilt amount and the tilt angle to give us this darker vignette effect. And as you can see, it's starting to creep in on the outsides. We can then always come back and change the film blur and the temperature shift if we want to just tweak it a little bit. We've then also got dirt and scratches. So let's just increase this density so we can actually see this. We've got these moving dirt effects. I don't want quite that many, maybe go with about 3. And let's just reduce the size a little bit. And now we've got these occasional little speckles going on. We've also got scratches, which are on by default. Let's just increase the width and maybe just tweak the position until we can see it. There it is. Hit play, and we've got this little line which dances around. If you don't want the scratch, you can simply untick enable, or of course you can add even more. I'm going to untick that because I'm pretty happy with that. And now we've got this super easy to create damaged style title. Next up, we've got this vintage inverted alpha style thing, which works particularly well on black and white footage like this, but can also work on pretty much anything. So once again, we're going to grab our text plus and just put this down onto our timeline. Give it a click. Let's just type vintage within here. And the font I'm using for this one is called Girasol. Girasol? I don't know how to pronounce it. This one, right there, that one. Again, you can download it for yourself. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Now, if you want to apply a very similar kind of blurry glow effect as we did within the film damage, but without actually using the film damage, there's a really quick and easy way to do this. Within the text plus, jump over to this shading tab. Then within this number 1, you should see white solid fill. This is basically the fill of your text. You can come in here and you can change the color of your font. You can even change it to a gradient and mess around with all of these settings. But the one we want is softness. So at the moment, it's very, very sharp. We can see all of these harsh edges. If we increase the X, we get this lateral, this side-to-side horizontal blur. If we increase the Y, we get this up and down vertical blur. So you can just customize these to get a little bit of softness and a little bit of blur. So I'm going to go with something like that because I think that looks pretty good. Underneath there, there's also glow. So if you want to put a little bit of glow on your footage as well, only a small amount, let's just go with something like that. You get a nice glowing effect. Now to create the magic, to actually make this work so that it shows everything underneath, again, really simple. Within the inspector, jump over to Settings, then come down to this Composite. If it's not open already, just click on the word Composite and you'll see Composite Mode. It will say Normal, give that a click, and you can kind of play with these. Just go through, have a little look, see which ones kind of do cool things. But the one we want is simply called Difference. And what Difference will do is basically invert it. It will show the opposite things throughout the text. So now we get this really cool kind of effect. Now I've got another example to show you here where the footage isn't black and white. Now it still works pretty well when your font is white, but if you want to start adding a little bit of color to it, you can, and I think it works really well. You don't want to go too bright because it'll start to blow out and not look great, but if you use, again, muted amounts of color, you can just shift it. So it still does a similar thing, it still pops, it still looks really cool, but we can just add a nice bit of color to it. So let's try and match this background a little bit. We'll go with this kind of really muted blue, and we've got this super cool looking effect. Next up, we're going to do this other sort of vintage one, but we're going to start playing, adding some additional effects to create different blurs, putting a little bit of movement on it, and adjusting different parts of the title to have a slightly different font. Again, it's all way easier than you might expect. So Text Plus, grab it, put it on the timeline, give it a click. Let's just type in here Cinematic. And the font I'm using, again, another free one, is called Big Shoulders Display. Now, Big Shoulders Display has all of these different formats, so you can go thin, regular, bold, semi-bold, black, whatever you want. Let's go bold. Let's make this nice and big. Maybe change the tracking like so. Let's change the color. I'm going to try and match the sort of the light in the background a little bit. So we'll go with a muted sort of yellowish. And we want that softness once again. So we're going to go to shading, and we're just going to go to my softness and add a little bit of the softness and a little bit of the glow, something like that. Now, if we wanted some of this text to be maybe a different size, a different color, or in my case, I'm going to tweak this thin, bold font format, you can do this really easily, but you do need to jump into Fusion. So don't worry if you're not used to Fusion, this is dead easy. All you want to do with your Text Plus open, click on this little icon to jump onto the Fusion page, and then from within here, you should see all of the same controls over on the right within the inspector. Simply right-click within your text box, and there is an option, Character Level Styling. Give that a click, and it will open this Modifiers. Then on your preview screen, you can just click and drag your mouse to select the text, the words, or in my case, just these handful of letters on the end of our word to be a slightly different format. Once you've done that, you'll have these same controls. So I'm going to change bold to be, let's go with, which one looks the best? I'm going to go with extra light, I think. And that's it. If we wanted to change the cine, we can just select cine, and let's say we wanted this to be black instead. We just change that like so. Once you're done, we can just jump straight back to the edit page, and now we've got this. This is looking pretty good. Now, if you wanted to give it a slight bit of movement, nothing too fancy, nothing too animated, but you want it to push in just a little bit, there's a super quick way of doing that too, and it's called a dynamic zoom. So with your title selected, underneath your preview screen on the edit page, click on this little drop down and then just go to dynamic zoom. Once you've given it a click, you'll get this red and this green box appear on your preview screen. All I'm going to do is make this green box just a little bit smaller than the red box. The green box is our starting point and the red box is our end point. Now if we hit play, we've just got this really subtle little movement as we're essentially zooming out, which is making our title get a little bit smaller. If we wanted it to be more exaggerated, we just make the green box smaller so there's a greater distance between the green and the red, and we've got a quicker movement. If we want to add a bit of a curve to that movement, simply right-click anywhere in your preview and you can change it from linear to ease in, ease out, or ease in and out. So I'm going to go with ease in and out. We'll hit play. And there you go. Simples. But what if you want something even easier, even more professional, something you can literally drag and drop? Well, if you do, you should definitely check out the plugins available for DaVinci Resolve by this video's sponsor, MotionVFX. If you're going for that old school classic analog look, why not check out MAlot? which contains 50 drag and drop elements like titles, effects, transitions, and add-ons to really bring that old school cool Filmic analog vibe to any of your projects. Or if it's only titles that you want, there's M-Title Cinematic and M-Title Cinematic 2, each containing 50 professional movie-inspired animated titles and captions. Or M-Title Mega Pack, which, as the name suggests, is a mega pack containing 125 drag and drop titles. And thanks to the M installer, everything is super easy to install. It will even install the fonts for you at the same time. Winner. So to check them out for yourself, simply head over to MotionVFX.com by clicking on the link down in the description below. Take a little look and see if you can find something you like. Right, next up we've got this super cool Filmic style title, which I personally really like. I think it looks pretty cool. And to build this one, we're going to start stacking some of the free effects which are available from within the effects library. So let's go. Text plus, once again, smash it down there. Let's just type Filmic within here. Now the font I've used for this one is called League Gothic, and we'll make this nice and big so it's easy to see for our demo. And again, maybe change the tracking to bring these just a little bit closer together. Now I actually want this one to be a nice bright red. Color's up to you, but I think the red looks really cool and works really well. And we want a bit of softness again, so we're going to jump over to shading. We're going to come to our softness, and we're just going to increase that softness and add a little bit of glow. Now, another cool trick you can do here, let's just zoom in a little bit, is knock this opacity down. You don't want to go too far, but I like to do it so you can just get the hint of what's underneath. It just adds a nice little sort of Filmic style effect when things are bleeding in and out. Again, entirely up to you, but I think it looks quite cool. It just adds that tiny bit of texture. Now for this one, let's just start playing around and stacking some of the different effects within the effects library. So within the effects library, let's go to Resolve FX, and we're going to start with blurs. Right at the very top of the list, there are a bunch of different blurs that you can use. Now personally, for this sort of thing, I really like radial blur and zoom blur. So let's grab radial blur and just drop this straight on here. Zoom in a little bit. Make sure you've got it selected within the inspector, the Open Effects tab this time. You can see Smooth Strength. So you can just increase this. You probably don't want to go too high. I want something relatively subtle. And it just gives us this little blur at the start and the end of our word. Underneath your preview window, click this drop down once again and then go to the Open Effects overlay. And this little marker on screen is your center point. So you can move this around to adjust the blur. Again, play with this. You can change the type, the symmetry, whether you're affecting all of the channels or just certain channels. Just have a play within there. Now already, I think that looks pretty cool. But let's just add some more stuff. Again, feel free to have a play, drop some things on here and see which works well. I like a little bit of camera shake. So if I grab this camera shake, drop this on here as well, hit play, and it's going to be a little bit aggressive. Now this camera shake has tons of different options. So again, have a play. But what I like to do is bring this motion scale right the way down. So we're just getting a tiny bit of movement and then maybe increase the speed. And we get almost like a gate weave style effect where it's just doing a little bit of jankiness. Just underneath camera shake, there's another great one called Flicker Addition. If we were to grab that, drop that on there, change the flicker type from gamma to gain, and then hit play, and you just get this little flicker. So we can see we've got this flickeriness. We can increase the range, the speed, the smoothness, again selecting our RGB values, as well as the randomness and the pauses and whatever else. And you can just customize this to get it looking however you like. That's way too much, so let me just reset that. I'm going to keep it something like that. Now the only other one I really want to mess about with, just to show you for this demonstration, is right at the bottom. It's lens distortion. So grab lens distortion, drop that on there. Once again, we've got a little marker on the screen. We can move this around. If you don't see that, again, just make sure you have your Open Effects overlay enabled. And then within the inspector, we can change the distortion from a barrel style distortion to a pincushion style distortion, whether it goes in or out, and change the positions. So I'm going to keep it right in the middle. Let's go with a bit of this just to flare the outsides out. Hit play, and we've created this little title in no time at all. If you're on the studio version, you could even start to put some grain on there, some halation, really start to play with it. Tilt shift works really well. Just have a little mess around with what's available within the effects library and have a play. Right, last up, we've got this grainy one, which again, I like. If you like it, let me know. If you don't, how have you got this far into the video? I don't know. Right, let me show you how to do it. You've guessed it, we're going to go titles, and we just need to grab our text plus and we drop it on here. We're going to go grainy, we're going to go black for this one, and the font is called 6 caps. Again, completely free to download, check down below, and this time we're actually going to go different with the tracking. We're going to sort of stretch this out, make it a bit bigger. Let's go with something like that. And if we jump over to the layout, let's just change the position to move this up, something like that. I do want that softness again, so I'm going to jump over to shading and go to softness, and we'll increase this just a little bit and add that little bit of glow again, because it just looks nicer, I think, for this sort of thing, just that little bit of softness. Now, once again, we could jump into the effects library and start playing with, let's say, the radial blur, and we could actually start to achieve some cool stuff really quickly and easily. But there's something specific I want to do with this one, so instead we're going to jump into Fusion. So the easiest way to get to Fusion, give this text plus a click once again. In the inspector, click on your little magic wand icon in the top right hand corner, and this will take you straight into Fusion just like this. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Fusion, don't worry, we're not doing much at all. All I want you to do is click on template at the very bottom here within your nodes. Then holding the shift key and hitting the space key, you'll get this select tool window appear. From here, simply search for grain. Now there's 3 different grains. Some of them are limited to the studio only version, but this bottom one that just says grain, this is available within the free version. So give it a click and then click add, and it will just drop it on this line. And if we hit play, we can see we've got this grain going on within our preview. Now, I want to be selective as to where we're seeing this grain. So all we need to do on this little bar in the middle of your screen, grab this one, which is a rectangle, and drag this down above your grain. And then grab the little box at the end of the rectangle and drag it to this little blue arrow of grain. And that allows us to mask our grain out. So within the preview, you've got your little square now. Wherever the square is will be grainy, and wherever the square isn't, won't have the grain. So let's say we wanted the grain just at the end of our word, like so. It's a bit strong at the moment, so if we click on rectangle, open up the inspector, we can soften the edge. So there's a much nicer progression between where there is grain and where there isn't. So we can go with something like that. And to get a better idea, let's just jump back to the edit page. And if we hit play, we've got this grain going on the INY, but not at the beginning. So let's jump back in, clicking our little icon. To tweak this further, let's click on our grain node, and we can increase the power, and we can start to play with the size. So let's make it nice and strong and nice and big. Now, I also want to do some blurriness. So we're going to do something very similar here. I'm going to click on my template once again, just so it's highlighted. We'll hit Shift and Space, and then this time we're just going to search for blur. And you can use any of these, any of the blurs that you like. I'm going to keep it simple, and let's just go with zoom blur. We'll give zoom blur a click and then click add. That will automatically put this blur over here. Then grab your rectangle, that little square once again, and drag it to the blue, this time on the zoom blur. And now, wherever our box is, our rectangle, we'll have both blur and grain. So we can just start to tweak this. Now, as you can see, the blur is way too strong. So let's go to my zoom blur and let's just knock this right the way down. I'm going to go with something like that. Tweak these however you like. And let's just jump back to the edit page. And there we go. This might be a little bit slow to run, but we've got this really cool sort of grainy blur effect towards the end of our word. Another really cool thing you can do, make the box much smaller. You can literally just click on the edges of the boxes and bring it in. And maybe we only want this to be right in the middle, like so. So now we're going to have our grain in the middle of the word, but not on our G and our Y. Or alternatively, leave the box where it is, but this time within the inspector, click this invert. And now we're going to have grain at the start and the end of the word, but not in the middle. Again, tweak it, mess around with the grain, mess around with the mask until you're happy. See, told you it was easy. They're all easy to make. They're easy to play around with. And once you have played around with them, you probably want to save them. So all you need to do, go to each of them. So this is my grainy one. Give it a click, open up the inspector, jump right over to this file tab, far right hand side, and let's just name these accordingly. So this one is going to be called Grainy. You'll see the name change on the actual title on the timeline. And this one's going to be called Filmic. And then this one's Cinematic. You get the idea. Change all of the names. Then within the media pool, click on media pool top left. Click on these three little dots at the top right of your media pool. And make sure you've got this show power bins enabled. And you'll see this power bins within your media pool. I'm actually going to create a new folder within here. So I'm going to right click an empty space and then go to new bin. I'll call this Filmic Titles. We'll open this up and then I can grab all of these and just drop them in here. Now here I'm in a brand new project. I can go to that power bins. I've got my Filmic Titles. Let's grab the Grainy and bring it down. And here it is. We've got that Grainy title ready to go. We can bring Filmic down and there it is. Or Cinematic and there you go. Give them a click. They all have the same text plus ready to go. This one here, the Filmic, has all of the effects, so you can go in and customize them. And this one here, a grainy one, if we click our little icon in the top right-hand corner of the inspector, we can jump into Fusion, and we've got our blur and grain nodes, so we can customize it from within there as well. And that, ladies and gents, is it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you like those titles and I hope you learned something along the way. I had fun making them. If you've got any thoughts or feelings or ideas or suggestions or anything, let me know down in the comments below. Thanks once again for MotionVFX for sponsoring this video. Again, link in the description. Take it easy, folks. I'll see you next time.